if a woman say, I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to go out with the guys tonight because I think you might do something from the past. And it's like, nah, we've been married. In a marriage, I haven't cheated. I could chill with my homeboys for an extra hour. Like, take me at face value. Don't make me suffer because of your insecurities. Let's heal together. That's how I feel. I don't feel like you should make decisions based on your
Hold
insecurities.
on, what are you saying? Are you saying the man in that example you gave? You saying the man said, "Hey, look, I don't want you to," or the woman said, "Hey, I don't want you to go out with your homeboys because in the
But I
past
mean,
you've
like,
shown that you wasn't able to control yourself or something." And you saying that's an insecurity?
no, no. So this is what I'm saying. So say when they first started dating, he did things, but then as
You did
the
what?
relationship, like say he was in a hoe phase and he came out his hoe phase, and he proved himself, and then you got engaged, and then
He
y'all get
proved
married, right?
himself. What does that sound like? I mean, what does that look like? He proved himself. Like
Well,
he doesn't
so
hold
like he
around no
earned your
more or something?
trust back. He earned your trust back. He's taking care of the house. His priorities has changed. He has new morals. He has new values. Just somehow that nobody's perfect, especially in our community. Nobody's perfect. Mistakes are made, and it doesn't necessarily have to be infidelity. It can be irresponsibility with money. And say if he's proven himself for years, he's been consistently paying the bills, consistently doing this. He's been consistently making the right decisions. You cannot put your insecurities from the past on him. How can you move forward? I think that's when it becomes toxic, when you're asking your partner to submit to something because of your insecurities. And the only way you can know if it's your insecurities by going off of how they have shown up in the relationship consistently, if that makes
So
any
let me
sense.
say this, Di. A man goes out and cheat. He's in the whole phase. He straightened up. He doesn't go out no more, and then now he wants to go out. You think it's okay to go send him back out to the wolves? Send him back out with the temptation?
No, no,
And
no. But
and
what I'm saying is people do have the ability to learn and grow through Christ.
well,
They do.
why would
And
they try to learn and grow through Christ and still go dance with the devil?
no,
That,
not,
that
but that's what I'm saying. If you trust your man, you know he's not going to those clubs. You know, if he's about to ask you to go out, you're going to trust the space that he's going to because that's what it takes to truly change. You know that's what I'm saying. You have to show up consistently. If you see that his type of fun is going to the bowling alley or he's going to his cousin's house now, he's not constantly going to do the same things. I'm talking about someone that has actually changed. Someone, and even if he didn't change, say if you didn't have that problem with your current husband, say if you had a problem with that with your ex-boyfriend and your current husband comes in and he's showing some of the things and you're like, oh, well, this is why you're doing that. So I don't want you to do it. And he's like, nah, that's not why I'm doing that. I know that's what you experienced in the past. So yeah, because I know that might be throwing you off using that type of example. So let's use an example where he came in and showed he was the man that he was supposed to be. And then he does something that triggered you and you're like, oh, I think men who do that don't like women. You know what I'm saying? Then you're gonna be like, okay, wait, let's take a step back. Let's look at the difference between his intentions and my intentions and the way we did it, and that can show you how it looked. Let's use that.
that changes things. When you flipped it and said, and the man you came into the relationship and he never caused any of the insecurities on you, and he showed you signs that triggered you from a past relationship, that changes things. But if you're talking about a man who's out here smashing joints, he's going out drinking, socializing, and he's slipping up into some cheeks, and then you say, "Oh well, I'm not gonna let my insecurities get the best of him because he showed that he changed. I'm gonna let him go back out there, and maybe he's not gonna do." That's a recipe for disaster because he's shown that he had a track record of screwing up. So the last thing you want to do is associate yourself with something that caused the issue in the past. You kind of get away from that altogether. But once you switch it up and say that he just came in there, came into the relationship and never had a history of that. Somebody else actually had a history. That changes things. So I'm glad you kind of walked that back.
And
All
vice
right,
versa for
all right.
women.
Can I
Let's
ask
go ahead.
Darwin a question real quick?
Yeah.
Because you said something earlier about submission, where you were saying a woman should vet the man and ask certain questions. So I wanted to ask, do you feel as though that vetting, where she's finding out about his religious background and who he is, and if he has the characteristics to lead, do you feel like that should happen before she submits to him, or do you feel like that should happen in the midst of him making a request?
That should happen before she submit. Whenever she's learning his name, she should be also learning his tradition, his principles, all of those things.
Okay,
Because
so if
then
she
she
were
can
to,
yeah.
and a follow-up question, so if she were to start asking those questions, like all of those things, meaning she already submitted to him, they're together now, right? Let's say they've been together for a couple months now, they're maybe on the way to get married, and he's making a request of her. And now that's the moment that she decides to ask all these questions about his character and his morals. Would you think it would make sense for him to view that as being undermined? Or do you feel like viewing it as being undermined wouldn't be reasonable in a circumstance like that, where she's already chosen to submit to him?
It could go both ways, but if I'm the man in that situation, I would kind of. I mean, you asking me my personal opinion on it.
Mhm.
If I allow a woman to go in 2 months in a relationship and I haven't communicate my intentions and my expectations, how I operate in a relationship, what I believe in, and my traditions and principles, I'm also setting her up for failure. Not only setting myself up for failure, I'm setting her up for failure because I haven't communicated. We haven't mutually communicated compatibility. We
Mhm.
haven't exposed any other ways or traits that we have that can allow us to be equally yoked.
Mhm.
So both of us are at fault. But if a man is supposed to be a leader, he's not even supposed to let it get that far.
Mhm.
But if a woman lets it get that far, and and then she start questioning later, that's kind of like I can kind of see why that's undermine. I don't know if undermining is the right word for it. It's more like you came into it ill prepared, and now you got to walk back like, oh, I done busted open for this guy. Now I got to figure out if I can submit to him. Like, and I can understand why you coming up with these questions because a lot of women these days go into relationships like that now.
Mhm.
They're leading with their bodies and the physicalness, and then all of the important traits and all the important things and conversations comes up later. And I guess that's when you kind of get desensitized from the sex, or you come down off of the romance, off of the sprinkles, and now it's like, damn, okay, now I really want to be with him. The dick is good. Now let's see if he can be husband material. So now that's when the problem come up. So you're supposed to flip it. So I get what you're saying, Cloud.
Let me
Mhm.
go ahead and get Chanel in there. And then we go to Ruth. Go ahead, Miss Coco.
No, I'm good on this one.
Oh,
And
you
pause,
go.
pause, pause
I
for
like what
fast.
everybody's saying.
Okay, go ahead, Ruth.
Men weaponizing submission is what we're talking about. Yeah, I think that it happens all the time. That's how you pick the wrong person to submit to, and your life can be in shambles, and then everybody can judge you for it. So women have to put their guard up. They have to have their boundaries. They have to be prepared um, to guard themselves against the wolves that's out there. That I mean, men are fighting to say that they're the authority, but they don't understand that we have our enemies as well, which is on their side that don't care nothing about that woman that just wants to control, dominate her. I think that what he said
Mhm.
he was talking
Okay.
about just this example, talking about, oh, I want total control. Would you give yourself total control? Would you give the white man total control over you? So why would you want a woman to do that? That's called slavery. Like you got to think she has a brain. If I was supposed to have a brain, my man's brain, then God would have just made his, my brain into his. But he gave me my own, so therefore I can think for myself. And then I like what you guys said. Like you have to like when you're coming up with something for your company, we talked about a boss, you have to get employee buy-in. That's all we're talking about. We're not saying we don't want to listen to the man, but we're saying that get the buy-in so that she would be excited and motivated to help you. We would love to help our man build. We would love to have a man with a plan, but you can't be a man with a plan but don't want to tell us what's going on. So people want to dominate people. That's cool, but I think they're going to just end up single or divorced. But people that just want to be together, be submissive, women want to be submissive, and men that want to lead. Nothing wrong with leading, but the way you're talking, like you gotta. It's almost like you never let anything when you talk like that, because it's like if you really let something, that you work for your employees. You know what I mean? You got to make sure they have a paycheck. You do everything to make sure everything's a cohesive environment. I had a bad boss and a good boss. My bad boss tried to blame everything on me. The good boss was like, anything you need, whatever. They trying to keep me staying there for a long time because they know the quality of my work. And so it's just you got to have that balance. If you don't have that balance, then it's going to sound like a dictatorship. Nobody wants to participate. So that person's not going to hang around for long because they are a human being.